It's the internet, you're busy, so let's do this. Welcome to the GamesBeat Decides podcast. I'm your host, Jeffrey Grubb. This is the podcast where we decide everything in the world of games so you don't have to think about it for yourself. With me is Mike Minotti.
Hey. How's it going?
Pretty
trip?
Yeah, and pretty good trip. Yeah, it was good. Oh, I turned up the music. I'm already messing up the mixer, Mike. It was a good trip. We're going to talk about the news. We're going to talk a little bit about my trip. Talk about maybe a few games. We haven't been playing too much because you were busy making up for me, and I was busy, slacking off. It was pretty good. We're also in the second half. I think we're going to talk about the best gaming on trips and vacations, like your memories of that and things like that from your childhood. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds great to me. Although I'm like one of those people who gets car sick very easily, so I could like never play my Game Boy in the car.
Well, even if it's like not in the car, did you like ever play like once you got somewhere?
Well, yeah. Although I actually had one of those mini. I'm about to just jump into the topic. Do you want to do more of a pre-thing here?
Let's get the like the points of order out of the way, and then maybe we can actually just get the topic out of the way first this week.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, first, everyone, thank you for joining us. You can get more from me and Mike at GamesBeat.com. If you have something to share with us, email the podcast at gamespluspodcast@VentureBeat.com. That's the plus sign in there. If you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, anything like that. If you like the show, rate us on Apple Podcasts. It helps us out. Yeah, let's get this out of the way. So I just went on a road trip. I had my vacation last week. We talked about this a little bit. On that vacation, I just kind of drove up to Mount Rushmore. It was like 6.5 hours straight up through Wyoming and then over into South Dakota. We went through Nebraska on the way back just to, liven it up. Nebraska, it's really happening.
Sure.
But what I noticed is I don't like... You might have the best like system ever for a road trip right now with the Switch, maybe, but I don't think this is like the best time to be like playing games while on a vacation or on a road trip. Just because like I would remember there was a point where the Game Boy Advance was so popular and so ubiquitous that you could like go into a gas station and find like games at a gas station. They weren't always like those crappy games. Sometimes they were like legit like good games. You could like just buy one and get one and pop in your Game Boy Advance and play it on the back seat with the backlight or the front light or whatever it was on that thing. So yeah, the Game Boy Advance SP. But I don't know. We could talk about that a little bit more. But I guess I want to like pick up where we left off with you. So you couldn't really play games in the car much. Like what was gaming like for you on vacations or on trips?
Because I couldn't play if I was like looking down at something. I couldn't play in the car. But we had one of those minivans in like the late '90s that like had the Nintendo 64 like controller ports built into it, and it didn't have a Nintendo 64 built into it, but it had like the controller ports like on the side, so you could plug in your Nintendo 64 to the TV and like just play it in there. And it was so we would play things like Smash Brothers and Mario Kart. I remember we played the dogfighting mode in Star Fox 64 a lot. And this was really because we would do a lot of road trips. So we would go to Disney World a lot. Sometimes we would drive, not a whole lot, but sometimes we would. And it was a pretty long drive from Ohio, but that would always help out. There was even even the next like van. It didn't have Nintendo 64 stuff, but we were still just able to like plug in a GameCube. So we were playing a lot of Melee and stuff like that. So when I'm like looking up at the TV like that, I wouldn't get as car sick for whatever reason.
I mean, that makes some sense. Like just the equilibrium of like looking up and keeping it like level. That makes some sense. But I definitely did some similar stuff. And I was a little bit older when the GameCube came out. But me and my friends, I had like a 1980 Malibu, and we would plug in the GameCube into the the cigar port to get some power, and I had one of those little screens that popped on top of the GameCube, and you flipped it up. And
yes, I know. I had one of those too.
And I love that thing. And I think there was a battery for it and some stuff like that. You could do that, but if you would just plug it into the car, and it was fine. And I had the 4 controller ports again, so you could just play Melee and Mario Kart and stuff on that little screen, and that was a ton of fun. And people would I'd be driving a lot of times, but people in the back seat would be playing, and it was really great. I like that a ton. But yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest memories would be like playing my first Game Boy with like the light coming down from the side of the car in the back seat and trying to I remember specifically my dad would always get mad because he would hate seeing the light in the rearview mirror. he would think it was another car, and he'd be like, "Oh, you got to turn that light off. I can't see. There's a car coming." Yeah, he would freak out and like flip the car. I'm like, okay.
Something like when I was a kid, I kind of get it now, but I still feel like they were always overreacting. You put a light in the back, they would be like, "I can't see anything. I'm blinded."
I'm exactly overreacting. I remember being a kid, be like, when I'm an adult, I'm never going to tell anyone that. I'm like, I'm going to let people use those lights, and I am like that. I get it now a little bit more, like you said, but I'm still like, use the light. I don't care. I'll figure it out. But so what I would do is I would take off my shoes and I'd grab my socks, and like the little handlebars that like are right there for like helping you get out of the car. I would try to strategically position my socks so that they would block the light like towards his mirror and just kind of shoot it straight down. And I was able to kind of get really good at that, so I could watch my play Zelda or Tetris or whatever.
See, it's weird because before sleep mode, it felt like even portable gaming, kind of doing it on trips. And my family vacations were very much theme park kind of things.
Right.
So I would always maybe have like 10 minutes here, 30 minutes, like if I'm in a real long line, something like that. So, sometimes like it had to be strategic. Like, am I going to have enough time to start up this game and do something meaningful in it? Then, once, especially the DS was the first one where everything was just automatically sleep mode when you closed it. That was like the big game changer, because then it was just like, play whatever. With like, I have to get on this ride now, just close it. I can pick it back up later. It's fantastic.
Even just like going out of the house with the DS and the 3DS after that, I would do that like all the time. It would always be with me. I remember people saying that like, oh, Street Pass doesn't make any sense in America. So that's just for Japan. I'd be like, I don't know, man. I take mine with me everywhere, and I get plenty of Street Passes. So yeah, I don't know.
I definitely reached the point where I stopped caring about Street Pass, and I don't know why.
Oh yeah, same here. But I mean, it definitely. I was still picking them up. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a time. That first E3 I went to my 3DS. Oh, that was fun. With the Street Pass. But it's weird, the random games I remember like for specific vacations using a lot. Like there was one Disney trip where I was playing the Darkstalkers game for the PSP.
Oh wow!
Just like a ton, for whatever reason. And then like I remember actually. Link's Awakening, when they finally released, a version of that. Big one. Yeah, they released a version of that for 3DS or DS. I can't remember. It was portable for some reason or another. And
there was Link's Awakening DX for like the Game Boy Color, and then later they would like sell it on the eShop. Right. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, it was that. It was on the eShop for one of those two, and like I played Link's Awakening a ton, but I never beat it. And it just so happened, like, when I beat it, I was right outside the Living Season Epcot, just, like, waiting for my brother to, like, buy a toy or something. It's weird how well I can remember that.
No, totally. I'm the same way. I remember, I don't know, like, going to a Shoney's. Like, my road trips when I was young were very rarely to anywhere as exciting as Disney World. We'd go visit family in Ohio from Michigan or whatever, so a lot of that, but, like, we'd always, like, pull into, like, this Shoney's, and I'd always be playing. There was, like, a couple-year period, like a 2-year period where I was playing Link's Awakening as, like, an 11, 12-year-old, trying to figure out games in the first place. And I remember that Shoney's and playing that game there, like, multiple times. Yeah, I know that game. I think it's very intrinsically linked to that time in my life and road trips. That's one of the reasons I think I like it so much. Just kind of being able to zone out in the back seat with this awesome game and sort of having it teach me how games work in the first place. It was formative. But okay, beyond like Game Boys and portables and things like that, what about like arcades? Do you have any like memories of like destination arcades that you ended up at?
I mean, they're all Disney.
I mean, that's fine. Give me a couple. Give me highlights.
All right. The big arcade, the Contemporary Hotel, that's the one the monorail goes into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's an arcade in there. It was called the Fiesta Fun Zone or something. Fiesta Fun Center.
Mm-hmm.
This was an arcade, man. I mean, it had everything you could dream of, and it had, like, just some insane arcade cabinets. There's this game called Rail Chase, which was you sit down on, like, a little bench thing. It's like you're on a minecart. You have, like, the mounted guns. But the thing would shake. It was like a simulator, too, and, like, this is like 1996 or whatever. It was pretty big deal. It would have like stuff like the cheesy little like bowling game. Had like this 4-player tank game. It was like a team-based thing. It was like 2 versus 2. It just had all sorts. Like Disney has some real good arcades. Not these days, not quite so much because the whole thing is dying. But back then, in fact, this is timely. The last Explain Bro podcast I did with my brother AJ, that's at ebpodcast.com. We talked about Disneyquest, which was their kind of bizarre attempt to make a chain of virtual reality, like indoor amusement centers / arcades. And they had they only made 2 of them. One in like Chicago, and then one in Disney World, but the one Disney World stayed open. It opened in '98. It just closed last month. It was like very outdated by the time it closed, but it was glorious in its way.
Well, I mean, so like if you like went like in the last couple of months, what kind of fun would you be having? Would it still be like it would be kind of like a retro fun, a retro future sort of thing, or is it just like bad VR?
It's some bad VR. Like this is like the late '90s kind of mall VR, a little like a step above that, and then there would just be sections with a bunch of free play arcade games. There's specifically a section where they're like old ones like Tron, Burger Time, Donkey Kong, stuff like that, and then like the section with the quote unquote newer stuff, like probably aged them, but like your Tekkens, Marvel vs. Capcom, like whatever racing game and the shooting games and stuff like that. It was a glorious place. It was like my favorite thing in Disney World for some years. Yeah,
I wish I would have had like arcade experiences like that. Mine were always like Virginia Beach and like finding like the one like weird arcade virtual reality thing, which isn't even as advanced as what Disney was doing.
It probably drove my family crazy that like at least Disneyquest like is this advanced arcade. I mean that thing in Contemporary, it still was an arcade,
right? Just a regular arcade, yeah.
like that's what like I was super excited. I was going to the arcade in our hotel.
That Virginia Beach one, it was just like the little arcade headset. You'd pull it down, and then it always have like little pieces of gum stuck in there by some like jerk off teenager. Yeah, exactly. So that it was always disappointing when you actually would do that, like that kind of stuff. I will say, like on the trip we went from Mount Rushmore out to the Badlands National Park, which is kind of like this really cool mountainous region, like where it's kind of like the Grand Canyon in reverse, where it's like the Grand Canyon came out of the ground instead of goes down into the ground.
Is that just a mountain?
Not quite, because there's like huge crevices and stuff. But yes, basically, sure. Mike, if you want to be reductive about it,
isn't that just a mountain?
But between there and Mount Rushmore, there's this little town called Wall, and Wall Drug is like their big store.
Wall Drug.
Yeah, have you been there?
AJ has, but he's told me about it. He also told me that because I wouldn't make that trip. And he told me that
you have to go to Wall Drug.
It's a big thing, Wall Drug. Yeah,
so it's like this whole like city block in this, not a city at all, but this whole like city block in Wall that this store has just like overtaken over time. And like you can like look at a map and it's got like different sections, and it's like each section is a different part of Wall Drug. Like there's a cafe and a store and a bunch of different shops or whatever. But they had an arcade there, and they had a couple like interesting games. One is like this Space Invaders Extreme or something like that, and instead of like having like a big LCD screen, it's just this big like dot matrix display, and it's huge. It's like a story high, and like so it's like a very lo-fi but very huge arcade game, and it's just Space Invaders, but it's like 2-player and it almost played almost more like Missile Command. I don't know. It was very cool looking. I really like thought that was interesting. But the other thing was, I mean, they had the new Cruisin game, the new Nintendo Cruisin like Blast or something that came out in 2016. What? Yeah. Isn't this insane, Mike? There is a new cruising arcade. It's copyright 2016 Nintendo. It's not even like they like sub-licensed it to someone else. It came out in I Googled it too. I looked it up. It's real. They announced it, and I completely forgot that it was a thing. Because I'm like, oh, clearly, if they're going to do that, they'll like release it on one of their systems, right? They don't. Yeah. They don't even talk about the thing. It's just yeah. I was like, wow, this is nuts. We were way too like we were running behind, so I didn't get a chance to play it, and I'm like really regretting it. And it's like one of the reasons I want to go.
They put this on the Switch right now.
Yeah, totally. It's so insane. And like these are the kinds of things like that, and like the going to get like gas stations and being disappointed that there are no Game Boy games. But like seeing that, it's like making me think like, yeah, road trips are like really interesting ways to still discover new things about games that I didn't even like really realize were still possible to discover these days. It's shocking to me that Nintendo even still has an arcade division, let alone that they are releasing games in the arcade that they don't release on their systems or even talk about ever.
Cruisin Blast.
Like Reggie Fils-Aimé has never said Cruisin Blast. No. Like no, on any stage.
Get that out here, man.
Why is it such a separate thing? Like I don't get it.
So that's where there was a Cruisin that came out for the Wii. It was just called Cruisin, and that was in 2007. That was the last one before Cruisin Blast, which does not have its own Wikipedia page. It's just on the Cruisin. That's so bizarre.
Yep. I wonder if like the machines only got like started coming out recently. It looked very pristine. This machine.
Cruisin USA was a very important early Nintendo 64 game, man. It was like one of the first big, like, because that was still back when it was like, look how much it looks like the arcade game.
Yeah, and wasn't that one of the arcade games that Nintendo released where at the beginning on the splash screen it was Ultra 64? Yeah, I love that, man.
Because Cruisin Usa came out in like 1994.
Yeah, I love that.
So
those are all games that you would like just encounter on like at road stops and stuff, and I don't know, but this one was very interesting just to see that. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm on the lookout for that now.
I know for sure. I'm like, I wish there was like a map I could like see and find it in my area. But I'm almost like, oh, maybe we gotta go back out to Waldrug at some point. Take the kids back out there. We'll see. Mike, I think that's gonna do it for that conversation. And any other memories? Anything else? Any other like the best road trip games? Anything like that?
No, except that it's sometimes weird how much I anticipate I'm going to need some of these game devices, and then I don't really use them.
Yeah, completely. Like, I mean, I had my Switch with me the whole time. Of course, I didn't have any time to touch that. Of course not.
With the Switch, like if I go somewhere, I'll bring my Switch, my Vita, my 3DS, and like even I'll still bring like the Nook and like the laptop, and it's like. Sometimes I'm just sitting there. I'm like, sit here for a bit.
I know. I almost feel ashamed of myself. Like I'm an adult, man. I should be able to like make a decision about what I'm going to do with my free time beforehand. But no, I have to have all this entertainment just in case.
I know. Even like the E3 anymore, because I have so many appointments now. Like back when I was a scrub and had to wait in lines, like the 3DS was pretty useful. But now it's like
right, no time.
Time to pull that. No,
yep.
Too important now, Jeff.
Of course, yeah. That's what I always say, Mike, Mr. Important Minotti.
Yeah, that's what people think of me. When you think Mike Minotti, you think importance.
Yep, top tier. Okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take a break. I know we're kind of going out of order here from what's normal, but that was fun. When we come back, we're gonna talk about. I mean, I already talked about my road trip, and that was the only thing I had in my like what I've been up to. I haven't played any games because I've been busy with that. I guess we could maybe just hop into the news, unless Mike, you have any other games you want to talk about.
I can talk about Mega Man a little bit if you want to.
Yeah, let's touch on it, and then we'll get into the news. Okay, we're gonna go to the break. We'll be right back.
Mega Man.
I always touch Mega Man.
Touch him good.
Playing, or simply hosting games on a server, Intel makes it happen. And Intel wants to make sure the biggest innovations in gaming continue to happen on the PC by giving developers a hand with the Intel Game Dev program. All you have to do is sign up, and Intel will provide the resources necessary to help you continue to innovate and make gaming even more amazing. Head on over to the Game Dev program at software.intel.com/gamedev to get started. Again, that URL is software.intel.com/gamedev.
And we're back, Mike. Okay, so, yeah, Mega Man. You've been playing it. It's still kind of what it was last week. It's these 4 games that weren't in the first Mega Man collection. Any evolved thoughts on it now that you've put some more time into it?
Well, I think last time I had only played Mega Man 9. I've kind of gone through, or I just started at 10. I've kind of been through all of them now.
Okay. Which
has been a fun time. And, yeah, they all range from good to fantastic. Like 9 and 10 especially are like really good. 9's probably the best one of them. It's hard to say, and it's weird because everyone agrees with that. Even though 9 and 10 are so similar, it's hard to like put down why 9's better.
I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think I would just chalk it up to you having a more authoritative opinion on that matter.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm just a sheep.
Yeah, well, so I would just say that they're the same. I would say they're the exact same level almost. If I were like to give my real opinion on the matter.
It's hard to say. I don't know. They're both good though.
Yeah, totally. Like you're not going to go wrong with either one. Is kind of where I'm coming at it.
7 and 10 are interesting because they're both still good, but they like have these more apparent flaws. Especially 7 is the weirdest thing about 7 is that like the character sprite is just so big that everything else is like small. Like the screen space is just bizarrely small. Like the resolution is all weird. So it's like kind of hard to see what's coming at you sometimes, which is
No, that's completely unacceptable. I think actually playing that game, like it's kind of hard that it's kind of hard to imagine how they thought that was okay.
Right.
It's not terrible.
It's
but
real weird when you first start playing it. Like it gets better. The big problem too is you're just comparing that one to Mega Man X entirely, which came out quite a bit. I think Mega Man X came out before Mega Man 6 even. That was on the NES. So like Mega Man X had already been around for a while. I'm sure Mega Man X2 probably was already around. So it's a little bit of a kind of a weird thing with 7, but still really good. Like it is definitely stands out from the S games because it's kind of more colorful and cheery and a bit more fun. 8 is real interesting because at that point, like, doing like the 2D sprite Mega Man game was kind of still. There's the X games on that too, but it's still kind of a quaint thing. It was kind of a little cute, and it has like the anime cutscenes, which are just hilarious. Like some of the best voice acting you'll ever hear. I think we talked about that a little bit last week too, but man. But still, like, the actual game is super fun. Like, I remember I liked Mega Man 8 a lot when I was a kid because it was, like, the new Mega Man game still. And it was like, oh, it's, like, fancy and neat and whatnot. But they're all good. It's because, I don't know, 7 and 8 do sometimes get a bad rap just because they are weird, a little bit, they kind of stand alone on their generations. Right?
Yeah.
Like, Mega Man 1 through 6, there's literally 6 of them on the NES.
Yeah, you don't have to, like, you never have to include 7 or 8 in the conversation a lot of the times. People can just, like, comfortably leave them off when they're talking about Mega Man, like, historically. It's one of the reasons I think they got away with, like, 1 through 6 in that first collection.
Right. But I think, I think they, they shouldn't just be completely forgotten. They are still good games.
No,
they are fun. They have, there are some things that they even do a little bit better. The one thing I really like in Mega Man 8 is that, like, when you have a weapon equipped, you can still fire your regular weapon. Like, you don't have to use up that energy. So you can, like, have, like, whatever the shield weapon is in that one. But in, like, but you don't have to use it really. You can still hold down your charge shot and shoot those and use that when you need it.
Yeah, that is cool.
None of the other ones do that. So that's nice.
Yeah, for sure. I want to get back and kind of get through all of 9 and 10. And I think I will actually try to give 7 and 8 a shot and really kind of get.
I mean, my order was definitely 9, 10, 8, 7.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is probably the order of how good they are. That's how I'd probably rank them.
But. Yeah, that makes sense. That's probably how I'll approach them too. It'll be good to just kind of play a good Mega Man game. Yeah, and the only other thing, like I said, I've been traveling, so not a lot of time for games. I did play some PUBG. I guess I could say I got custom games, which is a thing. Like it was a huge rigmarole to go through with Bluehole to be like, hey, can I get custom games? And you have to like fill out this paperwork. And I did that. And what this means is I can like set up basically private matches, and I can control them, and I can have like observer privileges. And I think we're going to try to do like almost a games industry tournament coming up later this month. So that'll be pretty cool. I think we're going to try to live stream that on Facebook on the VentureBeat page. Maybe also put it on YouTube. We'll see. Twitch as well. But yeah, got some game developers basically coming into play. I talked to a few. I think Jonathan Blow is gonna play. So yeah, it's gonna be intense. So yeah, we're gonna see if we can get that going. Also, I set up.
Can't wait to see. Man, I'll be like so motivated to get good if I know like the opportunity to kill like name game devs. Just because I can give myself like, you killed Jonathan Blow, and I'll be like,
just screenshot that.
Funny.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be like, take that 7 out of 10 for witness and like it.
I put it on one of my top 10 for the game of the year. So yeah,
I bet he wishes you reviewed it, not me.
I bet he doesn't care one way or the other.
Yeah, probably not.
I've also been messing around with the green screen. In case you can't tell, it's like.
What, you mean you're not really in space?
No, I mean I am, but it's the green screen and me are both in space right now. Yeah, it's a whole thing. No, yeah, it's kind of fun. I've always wanted a green screen since I was a kid. Since I like saw a making of Star Wars: A New Hope, and they explained how they did all the motion controls for the ships and how the Millennium Falcon wasn't really moving. The camera was just moving in front of a green screen. And I, ever since then, I've wanted to play around with a green screen. I've never had one, so it's kind of cool to get this and mess around. My hair kind of doesn't really work. You could kind of, kind of fuzzy. So, I'm still playing around with it. It's fun. I like putting myself. Yep. I always say that, but my wife won't let me. She says it's my brand, and I'm like, I don't know what that means, but oh well. It is fun though to put myself like over the game and things when I'm playing that on Twitch. So. Yeah, I think, though, that's probably going to do it for kind of like what we've been up to. Why don't we just hop into the news?
Let's do it.
So, yeah. First up, Middle-earth Shadow of War is introducing a marketplace. Going to be selling basically like loot and stuff that you can upgrade your character with. So you can, I think basically the idea is you set up a kingdom or whatever, your own castle, and then people invade your castle. And and you can like buy stuff to make your upgrades better, so people have a harder time doing that, or make it easier for you when you want to go invade other people. Mike, I lost your video, so hop back in there when you get a chance.
Sure thing.
I think people were kind of responding pretty poorly to this at first, because it also came with the announcement that you would have to always be online. But I think it's always online to like use any of your purchases. I think that's how that works. I think this is part of the games as a service trend. Is this something?
Sure. I mean, it's tough because it just doesn't quite fit so well into like an open world single player RPG thing like this.
It's definitely Ubisoft-ish is what it feels like.
Yeah, it seems a little. I mean, it brings a bit more pay to win than like Overwatch skins. It's a little ickier.
It definitely is. It's I think it's strange. I'll reserve full judgment, but I'm betting this is not something I'm going to be a huge fan of and be like, oh, I'm so glad I can pay money for these things. I doubt that's going to be the case for me. Just loot chests contain gear, weapons, and armor of varying rarity. Like, that's just the first thing. So
no, that's not good.
No, it's not good. It's not.
But I don't really understand what like. So there is a multiplayer component to this game. Then you're saying like
there is a multiplayer. I think it's raiding other people. Like, okay. I think it's asynchronous, maybe.
Yeah, because okay, fine. All right.
Right.
But because I mean, for the single player, like, who even cares? Like, I'm sure it's just gonna be easy enough.
Not me. Yeah, no way.
Right. But yeah, either way, who cares?
Right.
No, I'm gonna get real hardcore into Middle-earth Shadow of War asynchronous multiplayer modes.
Yeah, man, that's a hard thing that's a hard shift to make from one game to the other to get an audience to care about that stuff. Maybe they'll pull it off. I don't know. And if they do, maybe people want to spend money. But those are like, it feels like it's just like such a subset of a subset at a certain point. Like, no one's going to be buying this game to get the multiplayer stuff and spend money.
It's weird because Warner Bros. Kind of did a good job of getting loot boxes into Injustice in a way that made sense.
For sure.
This seems way less elegant.
Yes, at least so far. We'll reserve judgment. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see.
Yeah. Let's see. I've already lost my
Stardew Valley multiplayer update coming in early 2018.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah. Stardew Valley's that game that I'm still waiting to play on the Switch. It's that farming
Exactly.
simulator.
I want to play this game so bad. But
it would have been a perfect summer game, but oh well.
Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, multiplayer. I think that makes a lot of sense. A lot of people spending a lot of time in this game, working together like people do in like Minecraft or something like that.
I guess it's not like what I would want from the game, but I think
at least not my first playthrough. If I was like as into it as some people are, I imagine that they would want that. Maybe I might end up being that hardcore into it, but I don't know. For me, my first playthrough is definitely going to be just solo at my own pace, not having to worry about other people's wants and desires.
Farm waifus.
Yeah, exactly. They're not waifus if the game's Indian from the West. God damn it, Mike.
Are they not?
No, they probably.
I thought waifus were waifus.
It's just everything's a waifu now.
They're all waifus. You're my waifu now.
My favorite drink is waifu. Yeah, exactly. Gonna have some waifu for dinner tonight.
Fantastic.
Take-Two says the PC market is very important, but it's not going to commit to Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC.
Why are they being so cagey about this?
I don't know. I mean, you got to think like they're looking back at their historical sales data for Grand Theft Auto 5 and how that game has lived multiple lives because of its multiple releases. So getting released on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and then the next year Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and then the next year PC, and how that really... I mean, not that it needed help, because clearly it's still selling well beyond any of those releases, but maybe they're thinking the same thing could happen to Red Dead Redemption 2.
So yeah, they're very clearly like Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC is not coming at launch. It's going to be like the next year.
Right. Like, yeah, we're dedicated to the PC. It's important to us, but we're going to get the biggest sales we can up front on the consoles, and then we're going to do the same thing on the PC a year later for all the holdouts and for the people that would have just bought it on the PC, but it will like suffer through a console version. They're going to buy it again because they want to have mods and things like that.
It sure is weird how like the most important like thing in Red Dead Redemption 2 is something like I don't even care about at all. Like this whole multiplayer thing, they're gonna try to Grand Theft Auto Online it pretty hardcore.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you have to these days. That's like
I guess so. Yeah,
it's the new season pass and stuff.
Right, but it's just weird. Like with Grand Theft Auto 5, they like told people there'd be single player content and stuff. and we kind of had to learn why that's not going to happen. Like this time, you just straight up don't expect it ever. Like there won't be like an expansion for Red Dead Redemption 2. Hard to believe that game was supposed to be coming out soon.
Yeah. I mean, they need the Benz. The Benz isn't there to help finish the game, so... Yeah, I actually can't remember the guy's full names, but the Benz is just the dude that helped actually... Yeah, good. The Benz is the guy that helped actually finish Grand Theft Auto 5 and was like primarily responsible for even the thought and creation of GTA Online, and he's no longer at the company after they didn't pay him a bonus after GTA 5.
Paid him that bonus.
Yep, sounded like it may have come from a place of jealousy from the Hauser brothers. Yeah, okay, so Activision is considering other remasters after Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy did so sold so well. Yeah. I mean, okay. I get that, but like what? Like what are they talking about? Like what are they thinking about? What games do they have that they could
Spyro.
They own Spyro, Activision
They own
does?
Spyro. Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Remember that's
Yeah, you're right.
Skylanders. Spyro 1, 2, and 3, that's pretty easy. That's gonna happen.
Okay, that should happen. But like they already tried Tony Hawk and that has never worked.
They didn't do a very good job with that.
I mean, neither time. Like Tony Hawk's like Pro Skater HD was like okay, and then Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 was bad, actively awful. I mean,
the reason why like the Crash Bandicoot things are good is because there's obviously small differences, but it's pretty 1-to-1, right? Like that's what's awesome about that. It's just like, hey, look at this old game, and now it's like looks pretty new, but it plays exactly like you remember it. Like that's great.
Yep, I mean, and I think Spyro's a very easy thing to do that too, for sure, and they'll pull that off. Yeah, they'll probably get the same developer to do it, and it'll be fine. But beyond that, I don't know.
I mean, you could do some of the older Call of Duty games.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess
I expect
Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I'm gonna look up some old.
I'm looking up things. Yeah, I mean, they had their old Spider-Man games. That would be something.
Yeah, that'd be too difficult to get the rights figured out, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, there's not like...
Well, I mean, they totally worked with Sony on Crash Bandicoot, right? So maybe they'll work with Sony again on those Spider-Man games.
Yeah, no, Spider-Man, yeah, maybe. But Spyro seems to be the sure thing here. Everything else,
without a doubt, yeah.
Everything else, I don't know.
Yeah, they probably don't have the 007 license anymore. God, who has that? Probably no one.
That's probably a mess.
And hell, yeah. Yep, yeah. Cabela's Big Game Hunter. They'll bring back all those ones that they did.
Back at this, I'm like, these are all the games Activision had. I thought they would have had more.
I mean, they just get their like one or two franchises and then they run them in the ground. I mean, Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Call of Duty. I mean, they have a couple big games every year and they just continue to be big.
I mean, who's to say they couldn't just like remaster like Guitar Hero 1, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, you could.
I mean, you could, but
maybe.
They did Guitar Hero recently and it didn't go so well.
What are you talking about? It's back better than ever.
Gun. They're gonna re-release Gun HD. I can't wait.
Isn't The Rock gonna be a new Rampage movie? Isn't that them? They can have
Are
Rampage.
they still doing that? Are they still making that movie?
I think he filmed it.
Oh my god. What does he play? Does he play like one of the people that turns into the monsters?
No, he probably plays one of plays like the army guy who's like trying to spend time with his family, but they call him in to take care of the monsters.
It was his vacation too. It was 4th of July. Man.
Oh.
He's gonna go to a barbecue.
Wait,
what?
Is this them? Oh, here we go. Oh no, they only did the one? Wait a second.
Take your time. It's just a podcast.
Sorry. Legacy of Kain, I'm trying to think. Or was that them? Did they do all of those? They definitely did Blood Omen.
I don't think they did all of them. I feel like that was definitely not Activision. And I feel like doesn't Eidos own that like now, and that's like under Square Enix maybe?
Yeah, I think you're kind of right. But whoever owns Legacy of Kain should make those games.
Yeah, easily. I think didn't they do this with Marvel Ultimate Alliance as well? They already kind of brought that back, and it wasn't super well received. Like they did a poor job.
I don't remember that.
It was that, or like there's those one of those Marvel like Diablo clones.
Well, there's like that newer one for PC and console stuff. But that's not Ultimate Alliance.
Ultimate Alliance is totally re-released those on PC.
Really?
Yeah, and I think
you might be right. That does sound
it was
right.
like Ultimate Alliance and Ultimate Alliance 2, I think, at the same time in like one package. You had to buy them together.
You might be right. That sounds about right.
It only lists Ultimate Alliance here, not the sequel. So I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. It just seems like, okay, yeah, that's a great thought. Like, nostalgia works. Congratulations for figuring that out. I just don't know, beyond Spyro, like what they have. It's going to really...
It might even just be Spyro.
Yep.
That'll be pretty good.
Yeah, that'd be good enough. I mean, they should definitely do that. Those games were good.
Oh, that'd be great. The first 6.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Because it's a very similar trajectory, right? Or trajectory. You have those 3 games that came out on the PlayStation that were really good. Then
and people really cared about. They feel a deep connection to those games.
And after that, it all went down the tubes.
Right, and people didn't lose the connection. They just lost the quality games still coming out. So clearly, there's an audience to be served there.
Yeah. It's like you can almost say they revived the Spyro franchise, but they didn't. They just turned it into something else. Spyro's not even a part of it.
No, yeah, he was just part of the first game and then completely forgotten afterwards. So very, very strange. Okay, yeah, Steam now has more monthly active players than Xbox Live. I think
PC gaming's dying.
Man.
That was like, people were starting to say it so much, I was starting to believe it. I'm like, I guess it must be.
And then, when was that? That was like, it was 2009, 2010.
I would say maybe a little earlier. This is more like 2007, right? This is like the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era. Everybody.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so like 2007, 2008, 2009, I think we got a lot of those headlines. And it feels like it couldn't be more vibrant now at this point. It feels like it's never been bigger than it is right now.
Well, yeah, so just so many of like the things that are trendy in gaming just work best on PC, like digital gaming, esports, streaming, just like these online social world, like all these things are just work best on PC. So
yeah, I mean, you could tell the health of it. Like I always write this in any story I write about these kinds of things, but the peripheral market is just insane right now. Every company that has ever had any relationship to gaming has the keyboard and mouse and a gaming headset, and like they see all these people spending money on PC gaming, and they want to get in on that action. So clearly, there's people with money spending it, and it's benefiting everyone in the space. I think final news story: Persona 3 Dancing Moonlight, Persona 5 Dancing Star Night. Mike, just tell me what the fuck's happening here. I don't understand. I'm lost.
Do you remember Persona 4 Dancing All Night?
I do remember that. So the sequels and a sequel and a prequel.
Well, not necessarily. I don't know chronologically. So the amazing thing about all these ridiculous Persona spin-off games is that they're all canon.
Okay, no way.
Persona 4 Dancing All Night had a legit campaign mode with a lot of voice acted dialogue and cutscenes that takes place after the events of Persona 4. And it's all canon. And
it's just about people dancing all night, and now it's gonna be dancing in the moonlight.
No, demons have invaded girls' insecurities or their false images when they're idols or something or another, and they go into their subconsciousness.
So it's what happened in the gaming industry over the weekend.
They had to show they had to show them the truth of their justice through dance or something like that. Yep. And it's fantastic.
Okay, I always heard amazing things about that game. So apparently they did well enough that they're making 2 sequels, and yeah, it seems like people are really excited about this. I mean, are you excited to play both these games, or are you just going to play one or the other?
No, both. It's really neat because you would have expected one, but they're just straight up we're going to do it for Persona 3 also. And
they're both coming out on PS4 and both on PS Vita, or is that
Japan? None of these things they announced have a US release date yet, but they've all come out here so far. I wouldn't be too surprised if we don't get the Vita versions in the West, but the PlayStation 4 versions will happen.
I mean, it seems insane not to just make that one the Switch version in the West. I mean, it feels like that would
you would think at this point.
Yeah.
Well, they announced Persona Q too as well, but I don't think they said what platform.
Wait, which one's Persona Q?
That was the Etrian Odyssey kind of crossover thing. Again,
that didn't
still very much canon.
And that didn't come out here yet. Was
the first one did? It
all
right. But they announced Q2, and it's going to presumably, almost definitely, so Persona Q thing was that the Persona 3 and 4 casts team up in some interdimensional rift thing, and this one will almost absolutely introduce the Persona 5 cast in there as well.
I should play that Fire Emblem Shin Megami Tensei crossover and come on here and explain it, so I can sound crazy like you.
Man, I want to, but they got to release it on something besides the Wii U.
I know.
Give me a Switch version.
I have my Wii U plugged in so I could use the gamepad, but not the TV. I might just play it.
Shin Megami Tensei is incredible because it's the most weebish thing to become kind of mainstream lately.
Yep.
Persona specifically, and I love it. It's so great.
Yep, it's kind of insane that the trajectory of that series and how it has actually infiltrated mainstream, just straight up. It's sold a ton. Everyone talks about it. It's insane.
your game's doing pretty well if you can release 2 dancing spin-off games, you know?
Yeah, clearly. Man. Yeah. I mean, Mario's had a dancing game and maybe a few other characters.
Yes,
and you're on that level. You're on a Mario level now, Persona. Don't act like it. Keep being you. All right, Mike, I'm not sure if there's anything else. No other big news stories. I mean, I guess, did anything happen while I was out? Anything you would want to tell me about that I missed?
Don't ask me everything.
No, I know. I'm terrible. I don't have a good memory for that kind of thing either.
I think it was fine. I mean, there's a lot of Hearthstone cards being announced for the expansion that's coming out this week. I'm excited about that. But I think the Summer Games event and Overwatch starts tomorrow. Everything I actually can keep up with is like Overwatch, Hearthstone, and Nintendo. Other than that, I have to be reminded a lot of times. Mm-hmm. You reported that guy from the another Metroid 2 remake is going to help make Ori and the Will and the Wisp. So,
yes, that owns. I'm so excited about that. That was very, very cool thing to see. So he's just like, hey, it's been 1 year since AM2R came out. Also happening today, I now work for Moon Studios. I'm designing levels for Ori and the Will of the Wisps. So that's wonderful. I'm glad that kind of has a happy ending for that guy after dealing with Nintendo's lawyers and having his game ripped off offline.
Yeah, not through help with Nintendo, mind you, but now he's working on probably the hot Metroidvania franchise. So there we go.
Yep. So that's cool. Yeah. I think anything else happens in the week of news, we'll come back and we're going to discuss it next week. We'll be back then. Mike, in the meantime, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the internet?
Oh, I'm always at GamesBeat. You can also follow me on Twitter at Tolkoto, TOLKOTO. I'm also always doing the Exploding Barrel podcast every week with my brother. That's at ebpodcast.com.
Sometimes 2 a week.
Sometimes 2 a week when he forgets to upload one week. Yeah.
I'm Jeff Grubb on Twitter. You can get me there. Say hi, whatever. My DMs are open. I probably won't sexually harass you. We'll see. And I sometimes make videos on my YouTube page. What, Mike? Don't have to shake your head at me.
How dare you? How dare you make light of the situation?
You can find that on youtube.com/Jeffrey Grubb. And yeah, I'm going to be putting some more videos up there now. And like I said, we're going to be doing this huge PUBG tournament thing, so stay tuned for that. Like us on Facebook if you want to get all the details. We'll definitely be talking about it on there. Friday night, I think we're going to have a solo game with maybe 30-40 people. We'll see. Cool. Yeah, so until next week, thanks for joining us.
Bye.